Hello and welcome to the Travel Troll. We've brought them to, where have we brought them to today?
St Ives Bridge?
No, we've brought them to Sleep. Sleep Bridge, S-L-E-P-E. It is actually called St Ives now, but this town, this village, this town, used to be called Sleep. Do you know what Sleep is?
No.
No? Sleep, it's an old Anglo-Saxon word for muddy. It means muddy. And it used to be called Muddy, did this town, because it's right on the edge of the fens, which is all water and bog basically. So it was called Muddy. But they changed the name of it to St Ives, because St Ivo, some saint who I've never heard of, he was actually buried near here. They found his grave not somewhere in the town, so they renamed the old town. It's true, is that? That was in the year 1001, by the way. That's when they found his body and renamed it St Ives. So they found out where this guy was buried, and right at the spot where they found his body, they built a priory. Right on the very spot, and a lot of pilgrims used to come to the priory. It was called St Ivo Priory, surprisingly. So because of this priory with St Ivo there, right, and all pilgrims used to come from all over Europe, just to see him, just to see where he was buried, and they used to leave little donations to him. But there was one little problem. Can you think what it might be? There's a massive river. And how could they get across the river? There was no way to get across the river. Now, there was a ford. Do you know what a ford is? It's one of them things where you can drive a car over because it's quite shallow.
Oh, right,
There'd be like some stones going across, and people could get over sometimes when it was low water. There used to be a ford here. It's been here for thousands of years. But anyway, because of this pilgrimage everyone was coming on, they decided they needed to build a bridge. And that's what they did. The monks built a bridge right here. It's called St Ives Bridge. So the bridge was originally made out of wood, but in the early 1400s they built it into stone, made it into stone, and they built a little chapel. I don't know if you can see it in the middle there. There's a chapel right in the centre of the bridge. Now that's quite rare. There's only 4 bridges in the whole of the United Kingdom which have a chapel on them. Wow. But back in the olden days, in medieval times, it was actually very common to have a chapel in the middle of a bridge, because it wasn't just used as a church, it was somewhere where travellers could stop off and have a rest. And they could also use it as a toll bridge to take money off people for crossing the bridge into their land. So they were very popular with these chapels, but there's only 4 left, or 4 in the whole of the United Kingdom as far as I'm aware. So that was in 1426, they built a 2-storey little chapel there. But then along came Henry VIII in the 1500s, and he says, no, you're not having that. So he closed it down, stopped them having it, which was quite typical of him. But he did do one thing which was quite nice. The guy, I don't know what they'd call him back then, the vicar, the abbot, I don't know what he was. The guy who looked after it, the priest, I think he were a priest. He said to the priest, he says, I'll tell you what, you can live in it. You can't have it as a church, but you can live in it. So he actually turned it into a little house, and he lived there on the middle of a bridge. So then, something else happened in this area. 1631, someone came to live here. Do you know who? Oliver Cromwell.
Yeah.
Oliver Cromwell came to live in St Ives for 5 years as a farmer. He'd run out of money. He were a bit out of luck at the time. Came here to live as a farmer, a yeoman farmer, for 5 years. And then eventually he got a small inheritance and decided he didn't want to live here anymore. And he moved over to, what's that other place? Ely. He moved to Ely. How did you know that?
Because I know it.
How did you know that? He moved to Ely. But he did actually come from here, and in the markets there's actually a statue of him, which is pretty cool. Ironically, Oliver Cromwell came back. Don't throw leaflets all over me when I'm talking.
Sorry.
Ironically, Oliver Cromwell came back because he was trying to stop King Charles I's troops coming over the bridge. Tried to stop them. So what he did is he blew 2 of the arches away. Them 2 on that side.
Oh, right, yeah.
They blew the arches off, so the bridge wasn't complete, and they couldn't get over the bridge. And what they did is they put a little, drawbridge on it,
Yeah.
and they'd lift it up. And he managed to hold on to the town. He stopped King Charles I's men from taking over them, because they wanted this town because it was a way to get to London. But yeah, Cromwell stopped them. So after all the trouble, in 1716, they needed to rebuild the bridge. So they took the drawbridge down and they built 2 more arches on the end there. And as you can see, on this side they've got Gothic arches, and on the other side it's 2 rounded arches, and that's the more modern ones. Quite interesting story that, isn't it? But yeah, Oliver Cromwell, it's because of him the bridge looks a bit different today. So the chapel, which was now a house, in 1736 I believe it was, they actually built 2 more stories on it to make it a bigger house.
Oh, right.
And then after that, in the 1800s, it became a notorious pub.
Wow.
Well, an inn stroke pub. There was a pub stroke inn right in the middle of the bridge, a notorious one. After that, it turned into a doctor's surgery. It's been a lot of things as this. Then it was a house again, I believe. And then in the 1930s, they decided they had to take the top 2 layers off the chapel because it was getting a bit dangerous, a bit weakened. So they took the top 2 layers off and just had the original 2 left as you see it today. I don't know if you've noticed the beautiful house there just next to the bridge.
Yeah.
That's the oldest surviving house in the whole of St Ives. 1616 that was built. Beautiful house, isn't it? Did you know that?
Yes, I just told you.
Don't tell me facts, because I'll steal them off you. Something else you can see just underneath the chapel, there's a little door on this side of the bridge and a little railing going round.
Yeah.
That's an old crypt.
Okay.
Now in crypts they used to put bodies of people. Without going in, I couldn't tell you any more about it, but that is an old crypt. There's one more unusual story about this bridge, and it's from today, the modern day. There's a bit of a problem about it because there's a rule. Only vehicles which weigh more than 3 tons are allowed to go on that bridge.
What?
Doesn't that sound weird?
Yeah.
It's normally under 3
Yeah.
tons or whatever. It's over 3 tons. And that's because they want to stop everyone going over the bridge. But the only reason it's over 3 tons is so that delivery people and fire engines and things, emergency services can go over it, which are over 3 tons. But they would stop everyone going over there if they could. But the reason they let the lorries with the deliveries over is because there's nowhere for them to turn round.
Oh.
So anyone who's under 3 ton is not allowed over. But it's caused a bit of a problem in the neighbourhood because people still go over it. Mainly taxi drivers, apparently.
Oh, really?
They're very bad for it. They've done surveys, they've had the locals spying on them. And apparently there's something like 23 cars go over every day illegally. Some of them go the wrong way. It's a one-way street, and some of them go the wrong way up a one-way street. And all the locals were trying to get this stopped, and apparently there's been quite a few fights between locals and people crossing the bridge. And they've clamped down on it now, apparently. They're really trying to stop it, but apparently it's mainly taxi drivers. One more tiny little fact for you about St Ives I've just been reading. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It says something like the first ever pocket calculator was invented here. Now that's pretty special. That is special. That's it. That's the story of St Ives Bridge. It's quite an interesting bridge, isn't it? I like that one. I like St Ives in general. If you want to get down here, get here because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a nice little village. As we were walking through, I did say to you, this is the kind of place I could live.
Yeah.
It looks crime-free. Probably isn't, but it looks crime-free. Right, that's the full story. Thank you for joining. What did you think about that little story about the bridge?
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Marks out of 10. Shall we give it any?
Yeah.
Go on then.
8.
8?
Yeah.
8 for a rubbishy bridge.
No, it was really interesting.
We'll give it a 6 because I'm the travel troll. She's not, and I make the decisions. 6 out of 10. Get yourself to St Ives. Not just the bridge, St Ives. It's wonderful, and there's a tiny little free, cool museum, the Norris Museum as well, and loads of swans which just keep coming up to you and wanting a stroke. This is one thing I'm loving about St Ives. There's these signs up everywhere telling you all about them. Now here you've got the Victoria Memorial, which is right here, just here. And this street, it's so wide, apparently it's been this wide since it was a town, but it's so that they could have markets here. And one of the things they used to have back in 1886, there's a picture here of a cattle market. Look at this, it's a beauty. Look at that, can you imagine that? And this is where the, where's my finger? This is where the Queen Victoria Memorial is now. You can see all these cows and people. Oh, I'd have loved to have been here in them days. That looks really interesting. And this is in 1915. All the troops going past. See you later. Say goodbye, Mazzy.
Bye!
We're moving on to Huntington now. See you soon. Bye-bye. Many thanks for watching, guys. Please don't forget to click like, subscribe, leave a comment and share the video. And be sure to check out my other channel, Deep Digger Dan, and my website, thetraveltroll.uk. You can also follow me on Facebook, on Twitter and on Instagram. But most importantly, please do donate to the charity which we're supporting in this county. All links to everything I've just mentioned are all in the description below. Please come back tomorrow as we continue our adventure to try and make the biggest video library of the sites of the UK. Goodbye!